A very good morning, everyone. My name is Prem Maheshwaran. I'm a product expert. I welcome you all to the Masterclass series of the sixth session of this webinar. And today, the topic of discussion is change management, and we are going to discuss about how we can handle agile IT changes. So, this webinar is a little different from the rest of the topics that we covered previously. So, for this discussion, I've got one more person with me on the line. So her name is Ugandra. She is a technical writer. She is a new recruit to Manage Engine, and she wanted to learn change management. So I thought, why not we combine the training session as well as the webinar? So she'll also be on the air with us. So any questions, if she gets during the course of this webinar, she'll throw it on us, and I'll be answering that for her.
Hello everyone. So this is Ugandra here. I'll be with you throughout this webinar.
All right, that's wonderful. So this broadcast is happening from Chennai, the headquarters where we do all our development and operations, and the weather right now is very pleasant. Sorry guys, I'm just kidding. It's hot, hotter and hottest as usual. All right, without further delays, let me directly go into the product and let's start learning change management with ServiceDesk Plus. For this demonstration, I have the Enterprise Edition of ServiceDesk Plus on premises. So this is the full-blown version. Change management is available out of the box in the Enterprise Edition of ServiceDesk Plus. If you have a professional or a standard edition, you may have to acquire it as an add-on. All right. Okay. So first, let's take a look at the agenda that we are going to have a discussion on today. So the first point that we are going to discuss is how to quickly create changes. So what are the ways with which we can quickly, log a change? The challenge most of the operations and IT help desk teams around the world have is recording changes. Most of their technicians don't record the change and they directly implement it on the infrastructure. The primary reason for that is the delay that is caused during the creation of the change. So sometimes the process is too heavy that a technician has to spend like 5 minutes to just log a change, wherein the actual execution of the change takes only 2 minutes. So let's see how we can get around that. And the second point is how to onboard an expert team, how we can bring in more experts to work on the change and delegate, the work to them. The third point is automations with regards to change management. What are the different things that you can automate and speed up the process of change implementation? And orchestrating projects. The enterprise edition of ServiceDesk Plus also gets project management module. So this module will help you to do implementation of large changes on a longer time scale with a lot of people. So it'll help you to create a work breakdown structure and orchestrate a huge activity from a bird's eye view. So let's see how we can do that. And finally, how you can measure the quality of a change that you have performed. So all these are the points that we are going to discuss today in this session. All right. So let me come back to the product and let's go to the change tab. So this is where all the changes will be listed. So as you can see here, this is a demonstration installation. I've got a lot of sample changes created just to give you an idea of how changes looks like in the list view. All right, it's very similar to that of an incident list view. Here you can see the title of the change. The owner is the technician who's been assigned with the change, the category of the change. The category, subcategory, and item of incidents is also available for changes. So we'll be speaking a lot about it when we go into the attributes section of change management. The priority of the change so that you can focus more on high priority and critical priority changes. The type of the change. So based on the nature, you can set up the type for the change, and depending on the type, the process that we follow might vary. So we're going to see how we'll be handling that as well. And also you've got stage and statuses. So we'll be speaking about the six-stage design. It's a six-stage design for ServiceDesk Plus. We will speak about it as well. All right. So the first question is how to quickly create new changes. So most of the time, a change will be created from an incident request, a problem request, or directly under the change management module. So independent changes which are not connected to any incidents or problems can be created directly from the new change button available under the changes tab. So once I click the new change button, it gives me a form which is very similar to that of an incident template or a service request template. So we have got forms for change management as well. So by default, it goes to a normal change. I can also choose standard or other type of changes. So let us go with an example of a standard change first. All right. Before I create a standard change, all right, I would like to give an explanation of what a standard change is. Right? Standard changes are pre-approved changes. Most of the times, simple changes like allocation of more memory to a virtual machine or allocation of mailbox quota to a user's mailbox, these simple changes, which do not have a huge impact on the infrastructure, are raised as service requests. However, since you're touching the infrastructure, you may have to create a change record for that as well. In that case, it is essential and it's also mandatory that you follow the process. You create a standard change which does not require an approval, right? So let's go with this example. So to create a change, there are three important roles that are required. The first role is change requesters. So this is the person who asks for the change. It can either be a requester or a technician. The next one is a change owner, the technician who will be coordinating and orchestrating the complete change activity. And you have got change manager, which is not available here because it's a pre-approved change. Change manager is the one who approves the change, all right? And the stage and statuses. So once everything is filled in, can provide the title. I'll say allocate memory to VM. And once that is done, I can choose the reason for the change. I'm going to say it's productivity improvement and create one. All right, so we have got an error message because I've got few mandatory fields that I have to fill in. Question time. So Ugandra has got a question right now, so let her ask her question, please. Over to you, Ugandra.
Hello, Prem. So yeah, you were discussing about the change roles, right? And I really understood what change roles and how they come into the picture. But say I want to just share a change to all my users or some selected users. But what role do I assign them? A role where just the people can view the change. You get what I mean?
All right, that's a very interesting question. I'm pretty glad that she got this one. So she's asking if a change can be shared to a technician. All right. So right now we don't have this option because in incidents and service requests there is a new option with which you can share a request. Right now we don't have it, but the good part is we are already building it. So any user, any technician who is not part of the change, who doesn't play a role in the change, can also take a look into the change once the change is shared with him. Which is not available right now, but it'll be available in the next releases that are, online on the line. All right, let's, without any delays, I'm going to create this change. Yeah, so this is the change that I have created. So as you can see in ServiceDesk Plus, the change is a 6-layer design. Submission is the first layer, first stage. So this is where all the details of the change are recorded. So these are the attributes that we have to fill in to classify and give an idea to the change manager. So all the information like impact, urgency, risk, schedule start and end times, the timeline within which the change has to be executed, and the assets involved will be filled in. So I'll show you a better example just to give you an idea of how it works. So once again, I'm going to the Change tab. I'm opening it in a new browser tab. All right, I've got a very nice change that I've created for a demonstration. So this is a normal change. Let's go to the submission phase to take a look at how it would look like, when you follow the six-stage design to handle your normal, changes. So in the submission stage is where you provide all the information, the value proposal that you'd like to achieve with the change activity. So in this case, this organization is trying to move its on-premises resources to the cloud version, because most of their users are traveling around the world and connecting through VPN into the office network to access mail or other resources is very hectic. So they decided to take the cloud route. So instead of the Exchange server on premises, they are planning to move it to Office 365. And instead of the Active Directory on premises, they're planning to create a hybrid model with Azure Active Directory. So this is the value proposal they have come up with, the brief description about what they would like to achieve, what is the end resultant they want to see, and all the basic information. And below the description is the change details. So where they have given the risk, impact, urgency, schedule start and end times, and also you can see the assets that are involved, right? One more time. The question is, there is a question Ugandra has got. Let's ask her.
Hey, so how do you actually classify the type of a change? As in, what are the parameters do you consider for that?
All right. The question is like, how do you say it is a normal change or a minor change or a standard change? That is her question. So she wants to know what is the background with which we classify a change, with a type. So let's say a standard change. Standard change are changes which are very routine. You got so used to it, like allocating memory, changing the port, opening of ports in firewall, very low impact changes that does not require an impact analysis or a huge study, and also doesn't require an approval. With the case of approval, sometimes end user changes, a service request that requires a change activity on the infrastructure are also classified as standard changes. In short, any low impact or zero impact changes are classified as standard changes, and minor changes are one, there will be a minor degradation, but no modification. For example, restarting a server. So restarting the server has no modification to the configuration item. So there's zero modification. However, there will be a minor degradation or outage. Such changes are called as minor changes. Wherein major changes, definitely there is going to be modification to the configuration item. The server is going to be modified. You're going to change the application version. You're going to upgrade the operating system. There needs to be a study of the compatibility of the operating system with the application that is being hosted on the server. All these details have to be studied. That requires all the six stages. You have to do intense analysis and then a review after the implementation. All this have to be followed. Then it's called as a normal major change. All right. So these are the criterion by which we can identify the type of the change. All right. Let's see. Let's get back to the topic. So assets involved. So this is where I can associate assets. Let me go back to the sample change that we are working with right now. Let me edit it. Okay. So if I would like to involve an asset in this change, all I have to do is click on this section. I'll see the assets owned by the requester. Now, I don't want to associate the asset owned by a user. Instead, I would like to associate servers. So then I can click on the plus symbol, which is next to the field, and then I get this wizard. In this wizard, I can choose the type of the asset. I'm going to say routers. Let me see if I've got a router in the system. All right, I've got one, I think. Yep. Now I'm going to choose the router and click on associate. Once that is done, the asset is associated to this change. The reason why we associate assets to a change is to do an impact study. So as you can see here, it also gives me the relationship of this asset with the rest of the CIs in the infrastructure. All I have to do is click on the relationship map, and that will show me how critical this asset is. All right. So here is where I can see all the information about the asset, how many users consume the asset, how many departments depend on the asset, and all that information is shown, and also the dependent assets. So this particular asset depends on a Wi-Fi router through which all the data transfer happens with the internet. So if I take it down, if I take the Wi-Fi router down, definitely there won't be any communication with the server. So such information will be crucial to a technician. The configuration management database shows the criticality of the asset as well as the business usage of an asset. For IT technicians like us, it's always just a server or an end user's laptop or computer. But for the business users, it's a finance application server or a ticketing system or a customer support tool or a customer relationship management tool. So the business purpose varies, and based on the business purpose, the criticality of the asset also increases. So it is very much essential for us to understand the criticality and then record the impact before you unplug anything without approval, right? So that is the reason we always associate assets to the change. And when you associate assets, it's also essential to notify the change manager about the services that will be taken down during the execution of the change. So one of the servers that I have associated is an Exchange. As you can see here, it's an Exchange server, and definitely the email is going to be affected when I do a change activity. All right. So I have also associated the email service because it's going to be degraded, or there's going to be an outage. All right. So this is the primary section where I record all the details of the change, the finer information that are required for a better planning. All right. The next section is bringing more people into the change. So we already know that change requester is the one who asks for the change. Change owner is the coordinator or the technician who's been assigned with the change. Change manager is the one who approves the change. Now, question time. The thing is, who can be a change manager? Anyone can be a change requester, anyone can be a change owner, any technician, I mean. And but not all technicians can become a change manager. Only select people can become a change manager. And let's see how I can bring someone into the listing of a change manager. All right. Let me quickly open the admin section once again in a new tab. In the admin section, under users section, go to requesters. I'm really sorry about that. It's technicians. So technicians. So any technician can become a change manager only when I associate a role to him. Let's go with this example of Simon. So I would like to make Simon as one of the available change managers. And to do that, edit his profile, scroll down to the bottom of his profile, and there you'll find the assigned role. So I have assigned a test role to him. In addition to that, I have to make no, I'm sorry, I have to associate SD change manager role to him. Once the role is given to him, he will be listed as available change managers when I go to create a new change. All right. So to see it in working, I'm going to once again refresh the new change that I created. Let me go back to the changes list view. Click on the allocate memory to VM, the change that I created, and then right go with a normal change, so that I would like to bring in the asset, I'm sorry, change manager role into this change. Okay, so as you can see here, by default, Santa is chosen as the change manager, but I also got Simon as one of the available change managers. So these are the available change managers. From this list, I can choose one of the users, one of the technicians, to play a role as the change manager. So any questions on this, guys? So if you've got any questions, please shoot it down in the question section. So Ugandra is available as the panelist, so she'll advocate you guys here, and she'll shoot the questions to me. All right. Okay. So that is how I can associate or bring in more people to play a part in the change. So change requester, change owner, and change manager are the default roles. But In my case, this is a huge change which requires a lot of experts to be a part of this. So let me show you how I can bring in more people to play a part in this change activity. All right. So once again, let us go to the admin section. Under the change management module, I've got change roles. When I go to the change roles, this is where I'll see out of the box change roles in the application. So you've got cab, change manager, change owner, and change requester. So when I hover the mouse over these roles, I can see that the delete option is grayed out, which means it's a system role. It cannot be deleted. It's essential for carrying out a change activity. Whereas if I hover the mouse over the implementer role, it's a custom role. I can delete it at any point of time. All right. So let us edit this custom role and see how it is created and what are the privileges that are given to an implementer. So the idea behind this role is I would like to bring a technician to dedicatedly work in the implementation stage so that he can execute the change activity reviewing the plan, right? So when I edit the role, he has got view permission to the submission, but no edit option. He can view the plan, he can view the approval, but in the implementation stage, he can view the implementation as well as make modifications to it, which means he can add tasks, work log, and other information, comments related to the implementation. So he has got full control to the implementation, but view privilege for the rest of the stages. So this is how I can create custom roles. So there is one more role that I have created, which is a planner role. So let us activate this review role. So once I activate it, now this role is available for usage in any change that I'm going to create from now on. So a technician can be dedicatedly set as a reviewer with the change roles, and he can completely work on the review stage. He can review the implementation. He can see how it is working after modification and update the review document. So likewise, I can add more people into the change, making use of the change roles. Ugandra has got a question for us, guys. So over to Ugandra.
Hey Prem, I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, but this question is important. Can I add requesters as well as technicians to the cab as members of cab, or is it reserved only to the technicians?
All right, the question is like, who can be in the cab? Okay, let me give you the expansion of CAP first. It's Change Advisory Board. Let me go back to this example where I have got a huge change. This change is going to affect your business because you're going to take down email. Email is consumed by the entire business. So it becomes essential for us to seek the agreement of your business users. But when we are working on a change, it is not possible for us to ask everyone in the organization and uh, seek their agreement. Instead, we can build a change advisory board. Change advisory board constitutes of heads of departments of various departments. Uh, you know, Let me quickly show you how I can build a change advisory board. So for that, once again, I go into the admin section. In the left side navigation pane under the change management section, I've got change advisory board as one of the options. Click on change advisory board, and that'll give you the list of cabs that I already have created. So let us create a new cab and see how it works. Okay. To do that, click on new cab. I'm going to call it engineering Chennai. Right, Chennai is the city where I am right now, sitting right now, and I want to create a cab for it. To add new cab members, click on Add Cab Member, and that will give me the list of all users, which means it's a combination of both technician and requesters. So anyone who will be affected by a change activity can be part of the cab, right? So the right answer for you, Ugandra, it's all users. So both technician and requester can be a part of the change activity. All right, I'm going to add the cab members and save. So now, once the plan is ready, once the change activity plan is ready, I can, before doing the implementation, I can seek the recommendations of the stakeholders, and based on their recommendation, I can proceed with the change activity. All right. So these are all the details that are available in the submission stage. So you've got the brief plan, you've got the change details, assets that are involved, the services that are affected, and also I have brought in an expert team making use of the change roles. So with that, I have completed the submission stage. Now, validating the change. So not all the change proposals will be moved on to the planning stage. Sometimes it might not be required at that point of time, or sometimes it might overshoot the budget. So you may have to reject it right away. So that is why in Service Test Plus, you've got an option to validate a change right in the submission stage. Let me go back to the test change that I created. So as you can see here, it's still in the submission phase. And in this stage, I've got an accept and reject option. I can move it to a different status if I want more information. If there are more queries, I can move to a different status. I can build custom statuses. So under each and every stage, it is possible for me to create custom statuses to realize the process that is followed in an organization. So if you'd like to increase the life cycle of a change within a stage, it is also possible with the help of statuses. All right. So the initial validation can be given by the change owner or the change approver by clicking on accept. So once I accept the change, I can also give a comment. I'll say go ahead, good, and click on save. So now it is approved, it's validated, it's good to go, and it is moved to the planning stage. So likewise, in each and every stage, there is a decision making option available with which I can move it on to the next stage. So let's speak about the planning stage. All right. So Ugandra, if you've got any questions, you are free to ask me at any point of time. Just interrupt me, and the questions that you ask will also benefit the audience, our audience. So I'm good with that. You've got one.
No, Frame. This time I'm just gonna say thank you to you.
Awesome, Ugandra. So I think you're being very soft on me, so that is fine. All right. So let's bring back the focus to business. So planning. So in the planning stage, you've got the analysis section. So in the analysis section, I can record the impact. So once again, I'll take you to an ideal example of how impact study is done. So this Assure migration change, I'll go to the planning stage. And in the planning stage, I've got the impact. So the impact study is done with configuration management database. So if you do not know much about configuration management database or how to populate and make use of it with ITSM, please view the previous webinar. Session 5 is focused on software license management and configuration management database. So it is available in our website, servicedeskplus.com. Go to servicedeskplus.com. Under resources, you'll find webinars, and you can find all the recordings of our webinars there as well. Right. So making use of configuration management database, I can do an impact study and record the impact information. And also a document can be attached if I have done a detailed impact study with an Excel or a PDF file. All right. So once the impact is done, the next thing that I want to do with the analysis part is the rollout plan. How equipped am I to implement this change? What is the plan for implementation? What is the roadmap for implementation? How much time would I require? How much man hours do I require? Okay, do I have sufficient human resource to carry out this change activity? All this will be analyzed, and a rollout plan will be created and recorded in this section. All right, we have a rollout plan, but can we go ahead and directly do an implementation? Not really. It's not recommended. You should always have a plan B as well. Sometimes thing goes south on us. It'll go undesirable. So we should have a plan B so that we can put it back to the previous working state at least. So to achieve that, you have to create a backup plan as well. So the backup plan will have the plan to reverse the change activity if you could not do it within the downtime that we have planned. All right. Question time.
Is the backup plan going to be mandatory?
Okay, all right. That question I can answer it in two ways. Yes, it is mandatory, but most of the times technicians skip it. We cannot enforce people to fill in the blackout plan only through education. At times we have to you know make the product, throw a message to them so that they have to fill in the backup plan, and that is achieved with change closure rules. So to do that, go to the admin section. Under the change section, you have got change closure rules, and in the closure rules you can mandate certain information to be filled in. Only then it can be moved to the next stage. For example, if I'd like to capture the priority in the submission stage, I can enable that. I can enable assets involved. So without adding the assets involved in the change, a technician cannot move it to the planning stage. Likewise, it is also possible to enable, rollout and backout plans. So it will be mandatory, and without filling that, a technician cannot move the change from planning to the next, approval stage. So the answer is yes, it is possible. You can mandate it through the closure rules. All right, let us go back to the backup plan. So now that we have mandated it, the technician has to essentially fill it in. And once the plan is ready, the rollout and backup plans are ready, the next thing is checklist. Even when you have a very foolproof plan, very trivial information can cause a huge cost. So it is also essential to create a to-do list, check if everything is ready before you go for the implementation. So that is where the checklist comes in. So here you can add the list of items that you'd like to ensure before getting on with the implementation. And finally, it's the time to record the downtime. So this is where you can record the downtime, the start and end times. It's the window within which you can cause an outage for the performance of this change. All right. So that is with planning. So there is one more question with Ugandra. Over to you, Ugandra.
So, Prem, tell me, how do I estimate the downtime for a change? I mean, practically, which things do I account for the downtime?
All right, that is a very interesting question. So how do you say that 6 hours is enough for this change activity, or 4 hours is enough for this change activity? How do you do that? All right. So it is a calculation that you have to do based on the assets involved, the number of assets involved, the complexity of the change, how much, how many human resources you have to implement a huge change that involves 25 assets. So based on the man-hour calculation, you have to arrive at an estimate for the downtime. So it is actually, it changes for environment to environment. It changes with an IT team to IT team. So based on the incident or service request efficiency, you have to calculate the average man hours that are required for an activity, and a cumulative of that would give you an idea of how much downtime would be essential for you to carry out. So it is more of a calculation that you have to do with the timesheets, the previous experiences, and the reporting that you have with ServiceDesk Plus. All right. So now that we have a foolproof plan, we have done all the information, we have collected all the information that are essential for carrying out this project. Let's move on to the next stage. The next stage is the approval stage. So this is where I have invoked the change advisory board. So before I seek the approval of a change manager, I have to get the information from the recommendations from the change advisory board. So let us go back to the change that we are playing with. Let's try to go to the approval. All right, let me quickly edit this one. All right, I don't have any normal change. That's really bad. One moment, please. Yep. So this is a normal change. So I've got planning, the submission phase. It's right now in the submission phase. Let me quickly move it to the approval phase so that I can show you how to add the cab. So now this changes in the approval stage. It's in the pending status. So now to add cab member, click on add cab member and it'll show you all the cabs that we created. The one which I created is Engineering Chennai. So I can choose that. I can choose the users to who I have to send the notification to. Click on save. So now the people have got added. So once I select this checkbox and click on send for recommendation, the application will automatically shoot emails to the cab members. So there is one more question with Ugandra. Ugandra, please go ahead.
Is it possible to add members from different cabs for the recommendation of a single change? I actually mean, say we are creating, say there are many cabs available. So we are selecting a cab and then only adding the members from that particular cab. Can I also add members from some other cab in case the finance department and also the accounts department, say they are different departments and they are all involved? Can I add members from both the cabs?
Of course, you can do that. So once you have added it, you can once again click on add cab members. I can choose a different cab. All right, and then involve the people there. So this particular technician, the user, Daniel, is part of both the cabs. So he's already chosen. So if you'd like to involve one more cab, I can do that. All right, save. So likewise, I can keep adding people from multiple cabs and then involve them in a change activity. So the answer is yes, you can add people from multiple cab as part of the approval mechanism. All right. So once their recommendations are recorded, the next phase is implementation. But before implementing, it is also essential for us to inform about this outage to the rest of the business. So we have addressed the head of the departments, but how are we going to communicate to the complete organization? So that is achieved with announcements. To make an announcement about this change activity, click on Actions, click on Make an Announcement, and that will automatically fetch the announcement title from the change title. And also I can choose the announcement, the date during which the announcement has to be shown. So that I can set an expiry as well. So after 28th of June, evening 5 p.m., it will automatically expire. All right, I can add a quick description about the outage. All right, so now in addition to this, it is also possible for us to scope this announcement, show this announcement to a select group of audience. So assume that I'm going to work with a HRMS system, which is going to affect only the HR department. That is the case, I can show this announcement only to the HR team. That way we can reduce the panic among the rest of the business who will never be affected by a change activity. So we can scope, we can show it to a select group of audience with this mechanism. And in addition to this, this announcement can also be sent via email to the complete organization. So if you've got an org email address, you can put it there and then shoot it as an email as well. All right. So question time.
Hey, Prem. So yeah, we saw that for the submission and the planning stage, it was either the change owner or the change manager, I guess, who gave the go ahead. Who will be the person that's gonna approve the approval stage? Because you said that the cab members will be will only recommend or reject the change? Who's going to give the final go ahead for the change?
All right. In any change, the change manager is the one who can give the final go ahead. In most of the organizations, change manager is a very experienced IT guy who will know the real impact of this change activity. He is the one who can study the submission, the detailing, the documents, the plan, the downtime, the recommendations from the business, and he is the one who can take the final call whether to go ahead with the change or to reject the change. So, change manager is the ideal person who can approve the change. So, the approval stage lies with the change manager. He is the one who will take the final call and pass it on to the implementation. Right. So once the change manager approves in this particular activity, I am a change manager as well, so I can go ahead and approve the change. So once I approve it, it goes to the implementation. All right, so this is where we'll roll up the sleeves, get our hands dirty, and do the actual implementation of a change. But this particular change is marketing server upgrade. Very simple one, very straightforward. I'm going to do an upgrade of a server, and so I don't need much people here. I can delegate this work to 2 to 3 people. So I'm going to replace a server with a new one, and that can be done with tasks. So as you all know, task is the work breakdown structure of ServiceDesk Plus. In pretty much all the modules, you can consume tasks. For analyzing an incident, he can break down the work with tasks. For doing a root cause analysis and problems, you can make use of tasks and delegate the work to different teams. Likewise, even in change, the implementation can be delegated making use of tasks. To do that, click on Add New Task. You can either use the template or create a task from the scratch. And the best part is I can mark or assign an owner to the task. All right, I'm going to say Dylan James. So he's the owner for the task. I can give him a target due by time, schedule start and end times, and create one. All right. So likewise, I can create multiple tasks with which I can give the work to different teams or different users. All right. So with task, I can do simple implementation. Yuga has got a question. Please go ahead.
Now that you have said we can give the schedule start and end times for the timings for the tasks, do they act like SLAs? Do we have something like escalations in case the owner fails to complete the task between the schedule start and end time? Is there a way that we can notify someone who is higher to him?
Okay. So to put the question in a simple format, do we have SLAs for tasks? So that is a question. So actually, we don't have. So there is no SLA mechanism for tasks with which we can enforce violations. So if there are any violation with the schedule end time, if there is any escalation, no, we don't have it for now. So, but what we can still do is, let me show you the notification that are underlying the tasks. Go to the admin tab, search for notification rules. So under notification rules, you have got task as one of the sections. So in this section, we have got a bunch of notifications that you can trigger, which are related to the task. All right. So there is one notification which says email the associated entity owner when a task is not completed within schedule. So this is one way. It is not exactly SLA, but there is an option available. So I have given him the task owner a schedule start and end time. I am the change owner. So if he doesn't finish it within this, within the scheduled end time, and if the task is still open, I get a notification. I, being the change owner, I'll come to know that the task is not completed yet. So I can call the technician or I can shoot an email and drive him to complete it soon so that I can go ahead with completing the change. All right. So similarly, there are a bunch of notifications available. As soon as the task is completed, I can shoot an email to the entity owner, which is the change owner. if the task is manually rescheduled, once again I can trigger notification. So there is a bunch of options available to communicate between the task owner and the change owner. So one more question. Yes, please.
Not a question, but that's a pretty smart thing you have there, Prem.
Credit goes to our development team, Ugandra. So let's move on. All right, let's get back to the business. Okay. So that is with tasks. So with tasks, you can delegate the work for simple changes. But what about huge changes that requires a lot of resources? So migration of the in-house Active Directory and Exchange to Azure Active Directory and Office 365 setup, which is a huge task. We have to do a lot of research. We have to bring in more people. We have to communicate with our vendor and bring their team in-house. So it requires a lot of people, a large time scale, a long time scale, I'm sorry, and a lot of effort. Such changes can be done as projects. All right. So in this change activity, as you can see here, I have created and associated a project to it, because a simple task layer is not sufficient for me to complete this activity. Let us quickly go to this project and see how it works. So in ServiceDesk Plus, project is a three-layer design. A major project can be broken down into multiple milestones, and each and every milestone can have a number of tasks. When I show it to you like this, you will not get the idea of how the project is designed. To facilitate and to help me understand, keep you understand about the project design, we have got project overview map. This overview map gives you a pictorial representation of the design of the project. So this is the major project, and the first layer is milestone. So it is a significant level of achievement of the project. So I have broken it down into milestone, and each and every milestone is further split into tasks. So task is the grassroots level of an activity. So that is where the actual thing is done. So task is always the workforce level breakdown of activities. All right. So this is the design, and this design can also be exported into PDF format if you'd like to share it with your executives. All right. So the first thing that we do when we are given a work is break it down into layers, and the next thing is to onboard more people to work on this activity. So to work on this activity, I can bring in members, and any user in Service Desk Plus can act as a project member, meaning even requesters can be part of a project. So a vendor or a contractor that you bring in might bring in 10 people. So they are not your employees. They are a contractor. So in that case, instead of assigning a technician license, you can still bring them into the projects module. So we encourage projects to be used even for non-IT purposes, and that is the idea behind allowing requesters to play a part in the project. So to make a requester as an available project member, go to the admin section, search for requesters, choose any requester. I'm going to go with Tyler Mong, and I'd like to make her as one of the available project members. So in her profile, when I scroll down, I can see project role. So this is where I can choose the project role. Project administrator is the one who manages multiple projects. So he's the administrator for the module. He can play with multiple projects. Project manager is the one who owns a project. So his scope or his managerial powers lies within one project that he's part of. Team leader is the one who owns the milestone. So milestones can be assigned to team leaders, and finally team members are the one who performs the activities. All right. So this is how I can bring in more people and populate them in a project activity. All right. Once I break down the work, once I bring in all the people, the next thing is to manage people with work. So Gantt view will help me to see all the work that I have and also the resources that I have. So now I get a calendar overlay. In this calendar overlay, I can distribute the work, right? So I can click on the task, choose the schedule start and end times. I'm going to say 21 to 28. So once that is done in the calendar, it will show exactly in that time scale. So I have given a time scale to it. The next thing is choose the technician who should be assigned to this task. So once again, I can click on the task activity, all right, and then click on owner. All right, in this case, I'm going to say Derek. Derek is the one I want to assign this task with. All right. So that way I can manage both time and resources with the Gantt view. So Gantt view is the workshop, or I would say the kitchen where everything happens. Okay, you manage, the project managers spend most of their times with the Gantt chart, so they can efficiently repurpose resources. If there is a task activity that is completed within the scheduled end time, he can quickly remove the resource from that activity and reassign it to a different activity. So efficient management of time and resources happens with Gantt view. All right. And finally, you've got a history section where all the activities that are performed in this project is chronologically recorded for reference, future references. So if something went wrong and if you'd like to do a failure analysis, you can go to the history section and quickly do a research and find out what went wrong. All right. So in technical terms, it's called a post-mortem analysis. All right. So also you get a quick dashboard here. So this shows the due by time, the number of days past the due by time, the number of milestone you have, and how many are completed. So in my project, it's 0. So I have to quickly drive my technicians to work on it. All right. So this is all you get with projects. So you get a bird's eye view with which you can orchestrate the complete activity, in this project. So Uganda has got a
So, Prem, I just have this crude idea in my mind, and you have to tell me how I should work it out. Projects generally help us to break the work down and perform it. Do they also help us to perform a complete task, a huge task in stages, as in stage-wise work? Will they help us do that?
That's one more interesting question. So her question is it possible to transition this change in phases? It's more of a release management, right? So right now we don't have an option to stage the implementation. So it is not possible for us to implement in phases. So I believe we are working with a similar module. So we are already working with release management. So we'll be probably bringing it in the future versions where we can stage the releases and phase it out in an organized fashion. All right. So that is with project, guys. So you have got complete information about the implementation of a change in this project. So in the project, one more crucial information that I would like to share with you guys is the scheduled start and end times and the actual start and end times. The estimated hours and the actual hours, the estimated cost and the actual cost. So as you can see, in every layer, you got the actuals and estimates. So you can compare the actuals and estimates and find out the deviation. So this deviation data will help you to better plan your upcoming projects. So the experience that you gather from executing a project, even if it is a failure, you have to record it so that that experience will help you to better plan the upcoming projects. So in all layers, you've got actuals and estimates. So once the project is complete, then we can go back to the change. Let me once again go back to the assure change that I am working with. All right. So the implementation is complete, and now comes the review phase. Why is review essential? Sometimes, if we have failed to address everything in the planning stage, so if there are any loopholes in the plan, it might cause or it might be a gateway for a lot of issues. So it is essential for us to conduct a post-implementation review to find out how the infrastructure took the change. because by doing a change to a working infrastructure, you are introducing some noise. So the change management module completely focuses on reducing the noise, keeping the degradation of service or outages down to zero. But it is not possible for us to always keep it down to zero, absolute zero. There will be some space for errors, and it's not bad. It's better that we fix it post the implementation. That is why we have a review mechanism. So a reviewer can be introduced into this change. He can be given the work to completely do a review and find out how effectively the change has been implemented, how efficient it is, how it is working right now. All his observations can be recorded, and and then he can move it on or inform the change owner, and change owner can then go ahead and close the change. So this is the six-stage design by which we can perform all the activities and call a change a successful implementation. So if you've got any questions, guys, please shoot it in the question section. Ugandra, do you have any questions for me?
So who is gonna enter the completed time for a change, or is it something that's going to be automatically populated?
All right, she is asking about how the completed time is recorded in the change. Wonderful. uh, as soon as you change the status to completed, then the completion time will be automatically recorded. Let's quickly see that. So I'm going to call the reviewers completed. So in the closing stage, as I can see the approval summary, and then finally I'm going to say the change is completed in the status. So once I mark it, it will be set automatically on the change. All right. So when I go back to the change, I'll see that the completed time is marked as a current time. Yeah. So this is the current time is 21st of July. I'm sorry, it's June. I'm very bad with math. Okay, so 5:27 is the time right now in India, so it's completed right now. All right, so it's based on the status that you set on the change, so it'll be automatically set on the request. All right. So once again, we've got a history section where all the information about the change is recorded. Right, in chronological order. If you can expand it, you'll find all the information that are essential to do an analysis if something goes wrong. All right, so that is with a normal huge change. All right, we discussed about a standard change where we can skip the approval phase. We discussed about a normal change that requires all the six stages of a change activity. All right, so I would like to also discuss about some special cases. So before I move on to the special cases, I would like to check if Ugandra has got any questions for us. So are there any questions with you, Ugandra? You're good for now. She's good for now, actually. All right. So let us go to the admin section. I'm going to discuss about few other important features of the change activity. The first one is a change workflow. So standard changes and normal changes are pretty straightforward. We follow all the six stages. But emergency situations, your your infrastructure is under attack. There is a vulnerability and there is a huge hack on your network. So what will you do at that point of time? This particular situation requires emergency reaction. We cannot stick to the process. We will have to bend the rules at times. So that is where workflows will come in handy. Let me quickly show you this emergency workflow that I have created. All right, get in configure, and that will give me the stages. So as soon as an emergency change is submitted, I'd like to skip the planning and go to the approval stage. And that is achieved using the workflow section. So on accept, I can set the forward status. So I'd like to go to the approval pending state. In fact, even if I want to skip the approval, I can directly go to the implementation in progress, which means as soon as it is accepted, it goes to the implementation in progress. All right, so that way, as soon as it is accepted, it goes to the implementation stage. All right. Question. Ugandra has got a question for us.
Prem, does that mean I can create a change directly in the approval stage or say implementation stage, any stage for that matter, rather than the submission stage?
All right. So if you're sticking to the workflow, it is not possible for us to create a change directly in the implementation of our approval because the workflow will force you to go to the submission stage. So only on accept, the initial validation, it can skip and move on to the implementation or review phases. But there is a workaround to achieve this requirement. So to do that, go to the admin section, go to the change template directly, right? So some templates, like an emergency template, I have created, I can edit the template and set the stage as approval and status as approval pending. So now when a technician uses this template to create a change activity, it will directly be created in the approval stage. So that way we can skip the submission stage and directly go to a particular stage making use of the template. So answer is pre-fill it in the template. That way a change can be created in any stage that you desire. All right. So workflows will help you to, skip stages and also traverse between the stages. All right. So and also it holds the notification mechanism. So on accept, who should be notified can be configured also in the workflow. So workflow holds both the movement of flow, the movement of a change activity from stage to stage, and also the notification mechanism to keep the communication smoother between the change role players. There is one more question from.
All right, so the change owner, basically the people who handle the change and the human work there, these people will have contact. But do we have a common platform where the conversations can be recorded so that they can be viewed by all the people and they can be in the loop?
All right, that's one more wonderful question. The question is about, do you have conversations? To put it in plain, straightforward, perspective, it's about conversations for changes. So we have got incidents where all the emails are recorded as conversation in the incident. Is there a similar mechanism in change? Not right now. So we don't have it right now. Let me quickly see if I can show you the development bin that we have. So, all right. So I'm going to give you a quick sneak peek into the beta versions of ServiceDesk Plus. Okay, so in this beta version, I'll show you the changes that we are working with. All right, let me quickly create a change activity here. All right, it behaves like a beta. So I'm sorry about that. So the idea that I wanted to show you is that we have introduced a conversation tab. So with this conversation tab, all the email transactions between the change owners, change manager, change requester, and all the change role players will be recorded and it will be stored for reference. So there is a way which is coming with the upcoming versions. So I've got a beta version. So if not in this masterclass, I'll show it to you in the next one. All right. So that is the idea behind workflow. Workflow will help you to realize the process for different, special requirements, like an emergency situation or like a vulnerability attack. You can create a workflow and use it for emergency situations. So there's one more question from Mugandra.
Okay, Prem. So I create a change of the general workflow, but then I realize that I really have to rush it up and all that. So now can I move it to the emergency workflow? Like which role can actually do it if it's possible at all?
All right. So before the approval status, if the activity is in a different state, it is possible for us to edit and reset the workflow. So a change manager can do it, but once it passes the approval phase, it is not possible for us to update a different workflow. It is impossible for us. So uh, uh, to answer the question, you have got change manager role that can do it.
All right, so I have one more question since you talked about the approval stage. Say a change is already rejected in the approval stage, then is it still possible for the change manager or anyone to revert the rejection and then bring it into approval?
Okay. So reverting the rejection, right now in this design, we don't have the option yet. So it is not possible for us to revert the rejection. But what we can still do is, once the change is rejected, I can put it back to the planning stage. So instead of reverting, I'll put it back to the planning state. Once again, follow the process once again. So it go back to planning stage, comes up with a new plan, comes to the approval once again, and then I can pass it on to the implementation. So that is how it goes. So to answer the question, it is possible, but with a little workaround. So Ugandra, do you have any more questions for me?
I hope this is the last question for now, but yeah. So, can a change requester edit any field in the implementation stage? And what if there is really a need?
All right. So the question is, can a change requester edit anything in the implementation, stage? No, not really. It is not possible for a change requester to do that. So a change requester can only work on the submission phase. All right. So Ugandra, as you can see, we've got a lot of questions from our audience as well. So if you can take your time to read out the questions, we can answer most of it in this session. All right. Let me quickly see the first question from Paul. I'm going through the questions, here in this questionnaire section because some of the questions I have already answered during the course of this webinar. So let me quickly see.
Let's see what Smith has got here. Matthew Smith, I'm sorry. So, is it possible to allow a requester to create a change request? That's his question. Let's see what Prem tells for that.
All right. So a requester cannot submit a change. Unfortunately, requesters' privilege rests with service requests and incidents. Okay, but what we can do is there is a custom trigger available. So in ServiceDesk Plus, we have got custom triggers with which you can execute scripts. So it's a workaround. An end user will never get the privilege to raise a change directly. He can only submit it as a service request. In some organization, they have this practice of skipping the service request part and directly creating changes. So that is where this requirement comes. But the best practice is handling those requests as service request, and in turn, we can automatically create a change request with a trigger.
Hi, Prem. So I'm back here. Let's see what this person has asked. So, where can I find the previous webinars? Okay, you really have to tell that again.
All right, so you can find the previous webinars in our website. It is servicedeskplus.com. I'll send it via chat to everyone. So if you'd like to go back and see the previous webinar, or otherwise I can do this. Go to servicedeskplus.com. It's right on my screen, right? Go to resources, and under resources, you've got the masterclass. Click on masterclass, and that will take you to the homepage of this masterclass webinar series. The previous webinars are available to view right away there. So some of the quick things that I would like to recap in this webinar. So there are a few metrics that you'd like to follow with regards to change in projects. So this is the list of reports that you can run to ensure the adherence of process. So number of unauthorized changes identified in your infrastructure should be reported. Number of high impact service requests fulfilled without a change should also be accounted for. In the planning stage, if you'd like to measure the efficiency of your planning, please check the percentage of backed out changes and also the acceptance rate. How many changes are accepted by the change advisory board? To measure the performance of a project, do a variance study on the budget and schedule. And finally, to measure the performance of the implementation phase, uh, check the number of incidents caused by a change, percentage of changes completed on the time, and also percentage of unplanned outages. With that, I would like to end this webinar, and I would like to also inform you about the upcoming session, which is on the 5th of July. It's about extensions. So we are going to speak more about API, custom triggers, custom scripts, field and form rules, and etc. So it's going to be a very interesting webinar, and it will be handled by our technical manager, Mr. Jayanand Krishnamurthy, who has got about 10 years of experience in both development and support. And once again, guys, if you've got any feedback or queries, please shoot an email to support@servicedeskplus.com. So there we'll take down all your questions and feedback and improvise ourselves for the upcoming webinars. Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Ugandra, for being a part of this webinar. It's very interesting.
That's my pleasure, Prem. I'm sure our customers found it useful because I found it useful. And guys, please get in touch with us for any queries or feedback. We'll always be there for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again. Have a good one. Cheers.